Hi, Chris Duff over at Serious Land Capital, vacant land, funding, partner. A lot of activity today. So I'm actually going to start. I don't know if it's all going to be in a row, but there's a whole bunch of content can produce around this. Dispositions. What I've been talking a lot about recently, and on top of a lot of people's mind, especially as a lot of areas, it's been more difficult to dispo land. And so I'm trying to get more creative with properties that aren't moving as quickly as I would like, and maybe think about some avenues that I hadn't previously encountered or no one's ever suggested before. So, utilizing our new trusty AI pathway and all these, Claude or ChatGPT prompts. And actually, I could share the whole process that I did in order to set up this new Claude project for repeatable prompt for figuring out disposition strategies, especially for for properties that are struggling a bit more. So then I don't even need to do this. Like my team can just be checking in on this. And we'll probably run it like right at off the bat initially, and then at a certain trigger point, hey, this property hasn't sold within like the first month or 45 days of listing. Let's figure out and try to ramp this thing up a bit. Because there definitely are two core properties within our portfolio that I'm starting to lose sleep over. One in particular is like running low on margin very quickly. Fortunately, it was very cheap, a 35K buy, at least relative to what our standard purchase price, not standard, but average purchase price might be, well over 50K, and rising over time. This property is getting tight. Admittedly, we are at 45,000, 6 price cuts over the last 4 months. So it's a pretty nasty situation. We had one offer and the buyer backed out. The neighbor sabotaged the deal, unfortunately, but otherwise pretty minimal activity. So I set up this whole Claude prompt, which I'll do another podcast on how to orient that, but just asked it, okay, what am I missing here? What other avenues can we do to figure out how to get this damn thing sold? Whole bunch here. Again, things, I've been in land for coming up on 6 some odd years. And some of these I had never heard from any other land investors. So, props to these AI LLM tools for, forcing even additional creativity. And so today I'll just focus on one of its subsections, like expanding the digital marketing footprint. So, these ones are more typical. Like, okay, are you on every single site that can list land? In this case, we had it on MLS and Facebook Marketplace, but this property was not on land.com or LandWatch or LandFlip. Usually those sites are better for more rural land, but it's like, hey, if you can get any additional eyeballs, this thing is struggling, like may as well put this on here. And sometimes brokers will have a land.com account. We don't maintain one. I mean, it's really, really expensive. And I'll usually just try to buy a slot from somebody who has a spare one as needed for some of these more problematic properties. And sometimes brokers do have it, so we can leverage that as needed. This particular lot is like sub 2 acres, infill near a community lake, deep rural Tennessee. So like it wasn't the most ideal fit for land.com, but I figured, hey, like we need to do whatever it takes here. We're rapidly losing out on margin. Okay, told my assistant, figure out, find us another slot for land.com. And I'll probably build within our systems too, so it's not as piecemeal about this going forward. It's like, okay, after a certain amount of time, if we did not have this property listed on land.com immediately, is our trigger point 2 weeks, 3 weeks of listing based on activity to find an open slot and get that on there. We'll have a system based in. I need to think a little bit more about that in terms of trigger points versus just doing it immediately for each one. But maybe that is the answer. I don't know yet. I need to noodle on that a little bit more. But in this case, it's like, okay, find us a slot, land.com. Go ahead and set up a monthly subscription for LandWatch and LandFlip. Those sites are a little pricey too. I think the lowest it's like $100 a month. For their lowest tier for those. So I just told my assistant, hey, just like set up, on a monthly basis. Let's see if we can sell these. We can always cancel the subscription and, set a timer so that we're not getting locked into another needless sub based on these properties, but get these up. So we had land watch, land flip, and what was the other one? I think there's a free one, that land search. So that one also we wanted to take advantage. So I'm like, okay, get these all up there. That is an easy fix. We can do that within a day. Some that were way more unique here, especially for lower value properties, but I hadn't really heard this ever come up before. One was just creating a property specific landing page, with all the property details, drone photo footage, contact forms. So I've seen that, but even then, like very rarely for, usually like ranch properties or much larger ones, a lot more going on with the property. As you can imagine, like, to put where you're expecting the length of time to sell to be higher for maybe some of these $1 million properties and so forth. But, if something's still struggling to sell, why not try to take advantage of some local SEO tactics? Plus, you can have a bit more control on your listing description. You're not capped by 1,000 character limits, and you can orient photos and video in a more engaging fashion. And unless you're sharing that landing page like actively, I don't know, within certain community groups that are locally oriented around that property, doing a local SEO campaign, like, oh, I hadn't thought of doing that either. And so, you could target really, more long tail search terms, but might be really relevant to buyers in that area. Like for this one, it would be, like Lakeview property in Tennessee. I'd probably be a bit more specific about that, like more central Tennessee or the actual county and city that it's in. Build ready land within the city, or, X county land for sale. Again, those are a little too general based on what the AI was saying, but I'd probably do a little bit more long tail and maybe include those and still see, could it build up an SEO campaign? And, usually SEO, I mean, it can get a little complex and difficult, but, all these AI tools, like we do a lot of just in-house SEO and GEO now because the content creation is just way easier. But yeah, I mean, this is like a little bit of a heavier lift for, now it's like a 40K property that I need to move. We're going to get a whole domain set up for it, domain hosting, start setting up hidden web pages that are oriented towards SEO production. Like that is a bit of a heavier lift, even with AI help on some of these. So I'm not immediately prioritizing that piece yet, but it is something, okay, even over the next week, we improve these other lower hanging fruit. It's something we could go after. But especially if you have a high price property, and one that isn't immediately moving, like that's a very, very solid strategy. I know some people have tried to do like AdWords and so forth for properties before, credit to like Zingao on that technique. But yeah, like a concentrated SEO campaign, organic traffic to a specific landing page is not something I hear brought up really at all within the land space. And then this last one here to comment on today, it might even be more unique, is that you could do a temporary business listing just for the specific properties, like a Google My Business. I'm not sure. Can we do this off of like just our base Gmail account, like my Serious Land Capital one, that already has a business account to it? Can I do multiple businesses here? So we're looking into doing that, but that's like a quick one you could get up there and, start showing up in local results when people are searching around. It's like, okay, yeah, here's just this land that is technically a Google business listing, a creative avenue that, is technically abides by their terms of service for how you can orient, property being listed on some of these search engines here. So that's something we're actively investigating. I've never heard anybody mention doing a tactic like that before. So, again, credit to AI for actually suggesting something that isn't just a generic response. And I've been in this business, again, a long time and think about disposition day after day after day. I think I'm a very solid expert at it. So to learn something new like this is definitely encouraging. So I'll let you know how some of those pieces go. I have a lot of other pieces that it can dive into, but we'll pause for today. Hopefully this is helpful in your own dispo journey. Again, if you're looking for funding, I actually got a lot more deals in today after a bit of slow period the past few weeks. So that's been encouraging to see the continued progress there. SeriousLand.capital if you want to send anything over, even some more transactional funding deals. I'll love those whenever those are available. So happy to do them if you have any around. And then Land Daily Diligence Facebook group for zero cost review of your land deals. Mondays and Thursdays, and then landpricer.ai. A lot more progress on that end as well. I know I mentioned that daily, but we are making daily progress. Subscribe and share. Talk to you next time. Bye.